Hello and welcome. This is Eric from AG Racing Central. A little more than a year ago, I started this channel to make content about anti-gravity racing. Much inspiration came from Wipeout Omega Collection for PS4, one of my favorite games in the genre. The players who reached out to me and wanted to race were mostly die-hard Wipeout enthusiasts who more often than not left me in the dust. Wanting to improve, I started to approach the game in a more competitive manner and really analyze what I could do to increase my skill level. Even though I have ways to go to compete on a higher level, I have been able to consistently make better times and perform much better in online lobbies. As I want as many players as possible to enjoy this game, I will in this video list 5 tips to improve your game in Wipeout Omega Collection. Let's get started. My first tip is to experiment with different ships. It's easy to pick a favorite that suits most of your needs, and players of intermediate skill level tend to go for one of the balanced teams like AG Systems, Assegai or Harimau. Picking your team because you like the way the ship looks, nostalgic reasons, or because of some other aspect you like related to the team's evolution in the game's lore are all valid reasons to play a certain team. You should play the game the way you want to. However, there are some things you may not have considered that might make you want to try out another team. High handling stat combined with decent speed, like what you get when picking Assegai, AG Systems or Maneuver, might sound like a winning combo, and that isn't necessarily untrue. After all, reacting to tight turns on higher speed classes and avoiding using the air brakes can lead to faster lap times. However, the high handling ships can sometimes be too responsive in the controller inputs, making you either overshoot the corner, hit the wall before a corner, or have a hard time readjusting your racing line when exiting a corner. This doesn't have to be true for everyone. It all comes down to playstyle and input finesse, but what I'm saying is that you shouldn't immediately sleep on the low handling ships. For example, the excellent player Kid 8 mains the very slow turning Piranha ship, and he has said himself that it suits his playstyle very well as the ship feels much more stable than others. With Piranha and other teams you also get a high shield stat. This is more important than what you might think, as you take less damage from weapon hits, which in turn leads to more opportunities for speed increasing barrel rolls. The hidden stat you may want to check out in Big Snake's spreadsheet that I've linked in the description is ground grip, which isn't shown in the actual game, but it determines how much your ship drifts in the corners. So go out and experiment with different ships and you may find a new favorite. My next tip is to learn the tracks. As with any racing game, learning the tracks is very important, and this isn't an impossible task in Wipeout as there aren't all too many of them, when compared to similar games like Redout 2 for example. However, Wipeout Mega Collection features different speed classes, and your ships will handle the track differently depending on the speed class. For example, you want to learn how aggressive you need to be on the air brakes in the corners, and how fast you go over a bump will determine if you can do a barrel roll or not. Racing Game 101 teaches you that positioning for corners is important, and you ideally want to enter the corner from the outside, be close to the inside on the apex, and exit on the outside. However, there are numerous speed paths spread out over the track, and sometimes they are not positioned in the optimal racing line. These two on Chengdu Project are good examples. You also want to know where all the weapon paths are as well. Not only because the weapons you pick up can make a huge difference in the outcome of a race, you also need to absorb weapons when low on shield energy. And trust me, when you ride around on Phantom speed class with less than 10% shield energy left with 3 opponents breathing down your neck, you really want to know where the next weapon pad is after the next bend, as there will be no margins for error. So to improve in Wipeout Mega Collection, learning the tracks is a good way to go. It might seem like a tedious task, but I promise you that it'll pay off in the end. The zone events in the HD and Fury campaigns aren't extremely challenging, but the zone events in Wipeout 2048 will eat you alive if you don't know the tracks. The next tip I have is a bit more advanced for when you want to take your game to the next level, and I'm talking about mastering the pitching mechanic. By moving the left analog stick up and down, you can pitch your ship at any time during a race. Before you jump, you may want to pitch up, as it gives you more airtime, hopefully enough for you to perform a barrel roll. However, on other jumps, you may want to pitch down, as being in the air for too long slows you down. Therefore, you want to use the pitch so that you gain just enough airtime to make a barrel roll, or possibly also get over the obstacle or empty part of the track, and after that you'll want to land as soon as possible. To improve your game, you'd want to maximize the number of barrel rolls you make during a race, as they give you a significant speed boost, at the same time as you want to minimize your time in the air. The next point on my list is another mechanic that you want to master after getting your feet wet, and that is side shifts. This is a feature of the game that you may have skipped altogether when you completed the HD campaign on skill difficulty for example, but it is one you need to master in order to take your game to the next level. You perform a side shift by double tapping either air brake button, and that quickly changes the lateral position of your ship. Strangely enough, this doesn't affect your forward momentum. A side shift actually gives you a tiny speed boost. Side shifts are used for quickly reacting to obstacles on the track, positioning yourself before entering a corner, allowing for tighter turns, adjusting your position after a corner, getting away from a wall grind situation, and more. For example, if you steer your ship, part of your momentum will go to either side of the track, but if you instead use a side shift, you'll keep all of your forward momentum. This makes side shifts the optimal way of adjusting your position. In short, side shifts are something you really want to utilize as much as possible, especially when it doesn't cost you any resources at all and only works on a small cooldown. Not surprising at all, top players use side shifts all the time, and this was probably the biggest eye-opener to me when I first started playing with highly skilled players. And this brings us to the next point of ways to improve your Wipeout game, and that is to watch top players play the game. YouTube is filled with highly skilled Wipeout players, and many of them are still active, and you're watching some of their gameplay right now. For me, this tactic has taught me optimal turbo spots, skill cuts I didn't know existed, optimal racing lines, spots for making barrel rolls I didn't know about, and much more. If you want to watch some highly skilled players, I suggest taking a look at the description of this video, where I've put the links to some of their channels. Also, feel free to leave a comment with your favorite tip on how to improve in Wipeout Mega Collection. If you want to watch the grand finals of the Wipeout tournament called Transcendence League, where much of this footage came from, click on this video. Thank you for watching. I am Eric from AD Racing Central, and I'll see you in the next video.